My WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view review. First match of the evening was for the Unified Tag Team Championships with Big Show and Jericho teaming up to take on MVP and Mark Henry. Now, this match, it had some decent moments within it. The good portion of this match was mainly like everyone would expect. The good portion of this match was when Jericho and MVP were going against each other. You saw some good back and forth action with them too. But when Big Show and Mark Henry got involved, it just really, the whole match just turned out not to be probably as good as what it could have been if they would have had MVP and Jericho in the match more often than what they had. They kind of, made the match just worse, and it was a decent match, but it was a match that shouldn't have started out the pay-per-view. I think, the one thing is with pay-per-views, no matter what company it is, WWE, TNA, or Ring of Honor, you need to have an opening match that gets the crowd entertained. And this match just didn't cut it. And very predictably, Big Show and Jericho go over. Big Show hits the knockout KO punch to Mark Henry, and Jericho pins him. So Big Show and Jericho retain the Unified Tag Team Championships in about a 1 3/4 stars. It was at least watchable, I would say. It was just watchable at best, but not a good match to start the evening off with. Next matchup was the match that pretty much just got added at the last moment on this pay-per-view, and that's the U.S. title match with The Miz versus Kofi Kingston. You saw some good action between these two at the beginning of the match, but then it really slowed down after about a few minutes within this match, and it just slowed down the match so much that it hurt the quality of the match. Kofi Kingston and The Miz kind of started picking it up a little more at the end, so it did improve a little bit. That little portion, that middle portion of this match really slowed it down so much that it was just dragging on and on. It was a match that probably shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. It probably should have been cut a few more minutes shorter than what it was. And surprisingly, I was thinking The Miz would actually have gone over in this match, but The Miz doesn't go over in this match. Kofi Kingston goes over after hitting the Trouble in Paradise to The Miz. About a 2 1/4 star match, at least somewhat of a decent match. Then the next matchup was DX versus Legacy. Triple H and Shawn Michaels of DX taking on Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. of the Legacy in a submissions count anywhere match. Now, you saw some good brawling in here, but there was just portions of this match that just dragged on. This was not a terrible match, but it was a step down from their SummerSlam match. Their SummerSlam match was a whole lot better. Within some portions of this match, it just seemed like a clusterfuck, especially some portions when they were in the crowd. Not that good camera angles or anything within this match. And then they did a little something at the end of this match where it was Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase backstage. They pretty much beat the game up. He was knocked out. Shawn Michaels was still out, near the ring, near the stage. And the way this match ends is Shawn Michaels gets put into a combination of the figure 4 leg lock and the ring post by Cody Rhodes, and behind him Ted DiBiase does the $1 Million Dream submission hold as well. And then within that you see Triple H pretty much just rolling and stumbling down the ramp. He isn't able to get there in time, and Shawn Michaels taps out. So Legacy does go over in this match, and as predicted, a lot of people probably already knew this was going to happen. You obviously got the typical, You Screwed Bret chants towards Shawn Michaels with this match. You kind of got one thing that was pretty funny with Triple H, I thought, when they started chanting You Screwed Bret, and Triple H kind of played it off pretty well. I thought he kind of made a joke like it was all his fault. It was all his fault, and it wasn't me. And I thought that was pretty funny. But the one thing is, it's 12 years after. How much longer can they actually go with this? But it seems like one of those things within wrestling that probably is always going to be around no matter when WWE goes there. WWE doesn't help themselves out, that they always, play off with it. And even at the end of this event, they had to do something involving a type of screw job ending. But the DX Legacy match, it was pretty solid tag match, but it wasn't as good as their SummerSlam match. I would give it 2 3/4 stars because there were some good portions within it that I enjoyed. Then the next matchup was Kane versus Khali in a Singapore Kane match. Now, this is the one match that was a waste of space being on this pay-per-view. This match right here just didn't make any sense. Just, do this type of stuff on SmackDown. Don't throw it away on a pay-per-view. It's just, you know, waste of time on your pay-per-view that you could be given some time to other matches. I mean, this was a fairly short match. That was the good thing about it. It was very short, but hell, you could have gave that, you know, 5 or so minutes, whatever time you gave to this match to, you know, one of the main events instead of having this on here. Just, you know, typical big man match between these two. Typical match like they've had at the last pay-per-view. You know, everyone knew it was going to be terrible, and within this match, Kane goes over after hitting the choke slam. I'll give it 1 star, 1 star at best. Then the next thing that happened was they went backstage and CM Punk cut a promo. Interestingly enough, they actually had CM Punk within this promo mention Jeff Hardy as far as kind of, you know, within a promo he said, you will never, I'm, you know, the first, you know, straight edge champion, the only straight edge champion within WWE history. And then he said, you won't, you know, catch me, you know, you won't catch me with having my mugshot all over the internet like Jeff Hardy. So they actually did involve that, which, you know, CM Punk got a good amount of heat from that, obviously, from the crowd later on. And kind of surprised me they involved that. I wasn't expecting that, but they're definitely, you know, letting CM Punk go pretty far as his heel persona. It's great seeing him involve that. And as far as Jeff Hardy, I know some people wanted me to give my thoughts on that. As far as that, I mean, how many people actually were surprised when they heard about it? I mean, I hope Jeff Hardy gets his, you know, stuff together, and I hope he, you know, kind of, you know, improves whatever he does. But, I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, with Jeff Hardy, I wasn't shocked to hear about it, and I doubt very many people were actually shocked when they heard about it, and it was not a shocker at all. But then the next matchup was Christian versus William Regal for the ECW Championship, and this match was very, very good. This match probably one of the top matches of this pay-per-view, other than the WWE title match. This was a very, very good match. If you're a fan of, you know, technical wrestling, you would have loved this match. Good mat wrestling, good counters, good everything in this match. I'm glad they actually gave these two a good amount of time, and they actually showcased them very, very well. Like I said, a lot of good counters. Christian ends up winning this match after hitting the kill switch, but they did, you know, book this match very well. That it did look like William Regal was going to go over in this match, and it was just a very, very entertaining match. I would give it, you know, might be overrating it a little bit, but I'll give it 3.5 stars because I really, really enjoyed that match a lot. Then the next matchup, well, actually, before the next matchup, they had Patterson come out to the ring, and then Dolph Ziggler came out there, interrupted him. This just dragged on with him going back and forth. You know, these very, you know, it wasn't even funny jokes that he was throwing out. A lot of old jokes and everything, old people jokes, and it just dragged on and on. Then he ended up attacking Patterson. Then after that, John Morrison made the save. So you got a little something involving John Morrison and Ziggler on this pay-per-view. But I mean, they could have, you know, took off even though I know they didn't. The booking team in WWE didn't, you know, figure out an ending that they were going to do with John Morrison and Ziggler. I mean, come on, I mean, you're a wrestling organization. How hard is it to come up with the ending of a match? Maybe they just didn't want to, you know, make sure they didn't want to bury Ziggler too much, because if he would have lost to John Morrison, that would have hurt him. If John Morrison would have went over, it would have hurt Ziggler, and if Ziggler went over, it'd be like John Morrison, he just won the title. So I guess with that, it kind of makes sense to kind of hold it off for the next pay-per-view, but still, it's, you know, one of those titles, IC title, that I think was starting to seem very prestigious. Then John Morrison wins it, and he doesn't have it on the line on pay-per-view, which kind of is a little disappointing already with his, you know, little beginning of his IC title reign. Hopefully they do something good with him, though. Then the next matchup was Randy Orton versus John Cena for the WWE title in an I Quit match. Now, I know a lot of people, if they complain about this match, the one thing they're going to complain is obviously there was no blood in this match. I know a lot of people, you know, harp on that very much. And with the I Quit match, I can understand why some people feel that, but I thought they did some good stuff within this match. They did a lot of stiff Singapore cane shots from Randy Orton to John Cena. And the end of this match I thought was very good. Within this match, they had kind of played it off a little of what they did with what Rock did to Mankind back in '99 at the Royal Rumble. Got a handcuffs involved, and John Cena got handcuffed. Then John Cena was able to get unhandcuffed, handcuff himself to Randy Orton, and then started to beat him up. They went back and forth for a little bit, then got back in the ring, applied the STF with both of them were still handcuffed to each other, and then used the handcuffs and, you know, pretty much wrenched his arm back and had Orton say he quit that way. So it was a good ending of the match, and they definitely beat each other up very well in this match. But I know a lot of people are going to probably say they didn't have blood in this match, but that isn't a big thing with this match. I will say, the next pay-per-view, the Hell in a Cell, if they don't have any blood in any of the Hell in a Cell matches, then WWE will be taking, the whole, PG thing, or trying to be a little cleaner, a little too far. But I think, some people take the whole PG thing a little too far. But if they don't do it at that pay-per-view, I will complain at that. But this was a good match. I would give this, 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it the most. Probably this had, good storytelling to it, and I thought these two worked very good. As far as, the actual match that had better wrestling, obviously William Regal and Christian was a better wrestling match, but this was a very entertaining match. And John Cena goes over, so John Cena, hopefully this time with WWE they actually give him, a lengthy title reign, and not have, the title change so often. I know Orton had the title on him for a little bit, but it was he had such a boring title reign. He was so boring as champion. Maybe him chasing for the title, maybe that would improve it. I don't know if they're going to have Orton and John Cena take on each other, or they're going to have Batista and John Cena at the next pay-per-view. Guess we'll have to wait and see what they'll do tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. Then the main event of the evening was Undertaker versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship in a submission match. And you saw some good stuff in this match. The one thing that kind of hurt this was some of the booking involved with it. Now, what they did at the beginning, it seemed kind of awkward the way they did it at the beginning, where Undertaker pretty much was dominating him for about, I would say, about maybe 10 to 12 minutes. And then he puts him in the Hell's Gate submission hold. Punk taps out probably like a second or two after he's put into it. Then Teddy Long comes out there. I guess he's going to be now a heel general manager, especially from what he did here. He said the Hell's Gate submission hold is banned and the match has to be restarted. Then the match gets restarted. CM Punk attacks him from behind, then puts him in the Anaconda device, and they do a Survivor Series type screw job since this was in Montreal, Canada. WWE, I mean, this kind of hurt the match, was doing, the whole Montreal screw job ending, but it does get Punk over more as a heel, so I guess it makes sense in that way, but I would kind of like to see some better type of ending if they wanted to end the match in a screw job fashion, which I don't have no problem Punk winning in that type of fashion because he's a heel, he's supposed to win that way, but I think they could have came up with something better than just having, him put him in the Anaconda device in a second, the ref, singles for the bell, or the bell is ring, and then CM Punk retains that way. But we'll probably see this was just like a good taste of what these two could do, I think, and they're saving that for, their match they're probably going to have at the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view coming up in a few weeks. But what we saw in here was good, but the ending kind of hurt it for me, so I would give it 2.5 stars. You saw some good stuff on this pay-per-view, but overall this ain't like one of those must-see great pay-per-views or anything. I would classify this as, it's not really a throwaway pay-per-view because there was some good stuff on here. It was more or less, just an average WWE pay-per-view. I would give it a 6.75 out of 10. Definitely, check out the Christian versus William Regal match. Great match. And then check out the Randy Orton and John Cena match. That was very good as well. Good I Quit match. Wasn't a great I Quit match, but it was a very good I Quit match. It was pretty brutal in some portions within it. So that's it for my WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view review. Peace. Mark Henry got involved. It just really, the whole match just turned out not to be probably as good as what it could have been if they would have had MVP and Jericho in the match more often than what they had. They kind of, made the match just worse, and it was a decent match, but it was a match that shouldn't have started out the pay-per-view. I think, the one thing is with pay-per-views, no matter what company it is, WWE, TNA, or Ring of Honor, you need to have an opening match. They get my WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view review. First match of the evening was for the Unified Tag Team Championships with Big Show and Jericho teaming up to take on MVP and Mark Henry. Now, this match, it had some decent moments within it. The good portion of this match was mainly like everyone would expect. The good portion of this match was when Jericho and MVP were going against each other. You saw some good back and forth action with them too. But when Big Show and gets the crowd entertained, this match just didn't cut it. And very predictably, Big Show and Jericho go over. Big Show hits the knockout KO punch to Mark Henry, and Jericho pins him. So Big Show and Jericho retain the Unified Tag Team Championships. in about a 1 3/4 stars. It was at least watchable, I would say. It wasn't. It was just watchable at best, but not a good match to start the evening off with. Next matchup, the middle portion of this match really slowed it down so much that it was just dragging on and on. It was a match that probably shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. It probably should have been cut a few more minutes shorter than what it was. And surprisingly, I was thinking the Miz would actually have gone over in this match, but the Miz doesn't go over in this match. Kofi Kingston goes over after hitting the Trouble in Paradise to the Miz. About 2 was the match that pretty much just got added at the last moment on this pay-per-view, and that's the U.S. title match with The Miz versus Kofi Kingston. You saw some good action between these two at the beginning of the match, but then it really slowed down after about a few minutes within this match, and it just slowed down the match so much that it hurt the quality of the match. Kofi Kingston and The Miz kind of started picking it up a little more at the end, so it did improve a little bit. That little portion